Dude, holy shit. I can still remember the first time I saw that. Like, it had a weird filter over it, so you still couldn't quite tell what you were looking at. Like, what the fuck was Corey's face? And he's like, are you ready to tear this fucking place down? And just like the mannerisms of each dude, and then like the music itself. There still has not been another song like Wait and Bleed. I wonder what that was like to like hear that back for them for the first time, be like, holy shit, like we literally just changed music.
Hey, what's up, Vox and Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians, talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. Hope you had a killer weekend. I most certainly did. This Vox and Hops episode is presented by Heavy Montreal. Heavy Montreal are Montreal's premier metal promoter, and trust me when I say this, if you are ever in Montreal and you're looking for a killer gig to go to, well, Heavy Montreal will have you covered. I'm beyond stoked to have Heavy Montreal behind the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast. Now, before we jump into today's episode, I'd just like to ask you to follow the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast on the podcast platform of your choice. But more than that, I would love if you would tell one of your friends about the podcast. You can let them know that I have over 460 episodes where I sit down with some of the world's best metal musicians to talk all about their lives and music, and we also share amazing craft beers. If you would encourage one of your music-loving craft beer enthusiast friends to become a brand new Vox and Hops head, that would be something that I would truly appreciate. This week on the podcast, I'm very stoked to be with AJ Good of the House of Masks. Get ready, everyone. This is Vox and Hops episode number 464.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Today I'm very stoked to be with AJ Good of the House of Masks. Very, very stoked to be hanging out with you. I, as a lot of the Vox and Hops heads that will be listening, know that I am a new metal child, and I grew up just loving Slipknot, and in late teen years, when I was in grade 10, I discovered Slipknot probably the week before they came to Montreal. I've said the story a few times on the podcast. Got that first CD, only saw the cover and the booklet, and then went to the show, and I was terrified. Intrigued, but terrified. So I've definitely watched your channel. I wouldn't say that I watch every single video you do, but I have definitely sat and watched you talk about masks and stuff. So I'm very, very happy that my good friend and Vox and Hops alumni, Josh from Bather, hooked us up together. Ohio represent. AJ, how you doing?
Good, man. I have no complaints right now, which is a very rare thing. So
it's something that I'm trying to do on my side of things too. I am, as it's dating when the episode's happening, is I'm leaving in a week, less than a week at this point, for the Death to All tour with Cryptopsy, and every day there's something to deal with, and I have to mentally check myself and say, you want to play shows? You like playing shows? This all comes with it. So if you want to do that, don't get pissed off right now, because it's a part of the package. So I'm trying to like mentally check myself and just enjoy the suffering.
Yeah, I've been trying to do a lot of changes for some reason the last like month. I wanted to enter like my Namaste era.
Nice.
Where I'm just peaceful.
It's hard.
And I'm also trying really hard to beat my own autism and just like accept change. Like,
yeah,
change is there, but it really bothers me. So I'm just trying to like get used to it.
I watched the few of the most recent posts that you did there. So speaking of change, you totally chowed one of your classic outfits. That's like a big thing. It seemed like an internal struggle, but the stench and the feel of it just got too much.
Not even that. I just because I think that makes it like realer, you know.
Absolutely.
Like,
there's nothing better than
like,
stage clothes that smell.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. Like, not to get like too corny, but it does put you into a mindset. You get like
Absolutely.
a feeling when you have that on. So, and they were just perfect. I really liked the look of them. But that's also why I was like, if it goes any further, like every show I'm in the crowd, so like I don't want them to get ripped up or whatever it's gonna be, and I don't want like too much. So I was like, yeah, it's probably time.
It's time. Would you be like upset if like a fan ripped you up? Would it be like not like a mad at the fan, but like mad at yourself that you let it get this far?
Yeah, 100%. I'd be super disappointed.
It's like, oh, they're gone. Because, it happens. Then people grab you. They don't want to hurt you, but they catch you in the wrong way and it rips or something.
Yeah. It would be worse than mad, because it's like when your parent isn't They're not mad at you. They're disappointed. That's me and myself. So yeah, I would not forgive myself for that.
Hell yes. This is Vox and Hops, where I hang out with my metal friends, talk about their lives and music typically, and enjoy craft beer, but you don't drink. So what are you going to be drinking on your side tonight while we have this chat?
I have a Coke from McDonald's.
There you go. That's fine.
Yeah.
You do you, man. I love it. Yeah. On my side, I'm drinking something that I made a few years ago that I still have a bag of. This is a Cryptopsy's collab with Pitch Black North, the satanic tea company from Calgary, Alberta. If you do not know Dominic and Pitch Black North, you should definitely be friends. He made this to celebrate Cryptopsy's Nun So Vile album, messing around with a little pun there. The Nun So Vile tea. It's a lavender with black tea with hops. Anything I'm involved in always has some hops in it, so I'm enjoying this right now. Love it. I love hanging out and talking about stuff. I like to hear about, I mentioned how I grew up listening to Slipknot. I imagine you're sort of the same, because I heard you discovered it when you were 6 years old, and then that's actually the same day that you walked into some store and found a gas mask, and that was the evolution of everything that is behind you. And I'm sure that if we turn around, it continues for miles and miles of multiple masks all around you. Well, I'd like to hear about the soundtrack of your youth. When you're growing up in your parents' or guardians' house, what music was playing when you were not in control of the radio? What music did your parents or guardians listen to?
So the radio itself was always on either the Wazoo or the Blitz, which were the two Columbus rock stations. So there was a lot of Tool, a lot of Nirvana, a lot of Alice in Chains. The thing is, I never gave a shit about any of that when I was young. Like, I knew all the Tool songs and I knew all the Alice in Chains, but I never appreciated it at all. Rage Against the Machine, like anything that would be playing on there, I didn't care about for whatever reason. But now, like, it was like around 15, I started to really appreciate that stuff. My mom was huge into Kid Rock, which is hilarious to me.
Wow, okay. Ba with the Ba had some, but sometimes in Cryptopsy's many parties that we do, when Ba with the Ba hits the radio, shit gets wild.
I love that record.
I liked it when I was young, too. It hit my... Because during the pandemic, I re-listened to everything because we had nothing else to do. And as much as I was expecting to dislike that record, I didn't.
Dude, it's a pretty innovative record, I think. My first love was Limp Bizkit.
Hell yes. No shame there, either.
I was all about it, dude. I had the backwards, like, red Yankee cap and stuff. I really thought I was Fred Durst. But I loved Wes Borland. He was, like, the first theatrical musician that I saw. And he was just rad, man. Like, I was all about it. I liked that they had hip-hop elements in their stuff because I never was exposed to rap. So like that was the first like scratching or any sort of like bass boosted stuff that I'd ever heard. But once Slipknot kind of came to, it was like 2000, I think, when I discovered them. It was over. Like that was it. That was the only thing.
Every other band was below.
Yeah, that was it. I was obsessed. That was all I listened to until middle school. Late middle school. Some of my friends were like into Black Dahlia Murder. So I got pretty into Black Dahlia Murder, the Faceless.
Hell yes. The Summer Slaughter tours.
Stuff, you know? Yeah, you had to like graduate. Because the heaviest thing I'd heard up to that point was Slipknot. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that you could blast beat faster than Joey was doing blast beats or whatever it was. So yeah, Black Dahlia Murder still like top 3 band for me. I love Black Dahlia Murder. I have a funny Cryptopsy story.
Go for it. Shoot.
Okay, just real quick, because now the music I listen to is way different than what I used to. I'm a huge Billy Strings fan. I love Billy Strings. He's a G. He totally like opened up a completely new world to me, for me, whatever. And the selling point on really checking this dude out was he was wearing a Cryptopsy shirt.
Yes, he does.
In an interview.
Yeah, I've seen that interview.
Yeah, dude, I was like, I do music streams on my channel where I let people recommend stuff to me, and we'll listen through it and I'll give my opinions or whatever. And we had a really awful episode one day and nobody was recommending anything good. And I was like, all right, like one more recommendation and I'm out of here. Somebody said Billy Strings. And I was like, that sounds really silly.
Not metal.
Whatever.
Not yet.
Yeah. So it was like Dust in a Baggie at the Grand Ole Opry. And I was like, what the fuck? This is sick.
Rips,
like,
yeah.
He looks like me and he's like singing about meth. And I'm like, dude, this is the coolest shit ever. So I looked up another song. It was Turmoil and Tinfoil. And it was a live version too. And I was like, okay, like he's doing metal runs on an acoustic and it's heavier than the shit that is out right now in metal. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. So then the next video I looked up was an interview. Yeah, Cryptopsy shirt on. And I was
sitting on
like,
the couch all laid back there.
Yeah, dude. I was like, this is it. This is the guy. So that was the selling point. I was like, he looks like me. He's my age. He's playing metal on an acoustic guitar. And then the Cryptopsy T sent me over the edge. So.
Hell fucking yes. I have a funny Billy String story. I have two. One that I can't really tell you while we're recording, but I will tell you after. The first one is when we played in Salt Lake City in September, Billy Strings was also playing in Salt Lake City. And he was just too far. It didn't work out. We couldn't get together. But he sent over one of his peeps that was with him. And the dude, or the person that was there, because I didn't see them, bought all of our merch. Like
no shit.
Every model, every size that was good for Billy, and then gave us a cake. And on the cake it said "Open Strings Surgery" for open face surgery. Just too darn cool. He's very, very cool. And then he wore one of our shirts on stage in like a stadium, and like
That's
finished
so
his
sick.
set with Graves of the Father, I think it was, and he went out into the crowd and headbanged with like these people that have no idea what the hell's going on. It was incredible. Very,
He's
very
the
cool.
fucking coolest.
Yeah,
He's
very,
the coolest.
very, very cool. I remember that I was mentioning one of my first shows, which was the Slipknot. It was the Cold Chamber headlining Machine Head Slipknot tour, which I'm sure you've heard of at this point because it launched Slipknot's career into the stratosphere because they were just destroying the other bands every night. What about your first show? Do you remember your first show that you went to go see? Not Slipknot. It could be Slipknot, but anything like the first live music experience.
My dad was like a roadie for a few Columbus bands. Yeah, so I was at shows before I can remember.
Yeah.
And I do remember specific times being like 4, 5, like when you start to remember stuff. There were shows that they would play at bars and the bars wouldn't let me in. And and the band, like Planet Disorder or Low Life Revolution or whoever it was, they were like, all right, we're not playing. And then like I would get into the show and I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. I remember, dude, I met Dave Mustaine at Polaris when I was little, probably like 5 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. The first one that I remember that was like for me for sure was Ozfest 2004.
Nice.
Yeah, we went for my birthday. Saw Slipknot on like the side stage because they went back to the small one for that.
For the intimacy. They need that. Then they just did that when they launched again with Eloy, which we all knew was Eloy. When they went to the it was like 600 cap room. I think it was outside, but it looks so goddamn
I went to
cool.
that.
I feel like you did, yeah. So goddamn cool.
Yeah, it was a 350 cap, and it was at a barbecue restaurant.
So cool. This is what they did. I think they should do. Like, they can like sell out arenas anywhere, but it'd be so cool if they just scaled it down and brought it back to that true, dude, like 2-3 nights in a row, hypothetically, in these small venues. It would just be massive and just that vibe, that scary feeling would come back, I think.
Yeah, it was bizarre. We got a little group together in like, it was less than 24 hours before it was time to go. And we were like, yeah, fuck it, let's go out there or whatever. And on the way from the Airbnb to the barbecue place, everybody was being real weird in the car. And I was like, what the fuck is, like, I'm trying to vlog it, like, you know, because that's my job.
Content,
yeah. And I'm like, what's the deal? And like Paul, who's up front, he literally like makes masks for Slipknot. He's like, I'm just nervous. And I was like, why are you nervous? He's like, you don't get it. Like, we're about to see a bomb go off.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And I was like, okay, like, yeah, I understand. And it was a very bizarre, but very cool.
So cool. That first Ozfest that you went to and you really experienced, what was that vibe like for you? Just that, could you take yourself back there and like re-experience it and feel it for me? The smells, the excitement, the fear, hypothetically, the anxiety.
I was never nervous or anxious at shows. My dad's a big, scary dude, so I always felt pretty like confident.
He was with you then. That's cool.
Yeah. My mom and dad both took me. It was for my 11th birthday.
Oh shit! Okay.
Lots of alcohol smell. Every venue smells the same. It's
True.
like the spilled beer in the wood.
They can clean it as much, and bleach. It's beer and bleach mixed together.
Yeah, that is the smell of concerts for me. But I remember, dude, the shops, the little shops that
The
they
vendors,
had, they'd sell like, cool fucking like goth bracelets. And I thought I was the shit because I would pick up like 2 spike bracelets or whatever. Slipknot side stage was sick. I was on my dad's shoulders for that. And then if you bought the Subliminal Verses, you could like pre-buy it at Ozfest. It wasn't in stores yet. But if you bought it, you got to get it signed by 3 members of the band. So that was fucking killer. Like literally 11, like Paul Gray's like, badass, dude. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? So, yeah, I would fucking kill to have like a genuine Ozfest back.
I completely agree. I think that there needs to be a very solid, big U.S. heavy metal tour, extreme metal tour.
Festival shows are what they are, but man, there was just something about knowing that like Ozfest was going to roll through. And
yeah, I never got to go to one, sadly. I think at that point, maybe it was happening up here, but what would happen is that certain bands would pop up and do what would become Heavy Montreal, which is a festival that happened in Montreal for 10 years, from 2000, maybe even more, from 2007 up until 2019. And then it's been sort of just on hiatus since then. They present the podcast. Shout out to Heavy Montreal. We want you back. But I never actually went to an Ozfest or played an Ozfest. I have some friends that did, and it sounded amazing. Just crazy. And the rotating slots, grueling. It must have been horrible, but it's very interesting idea that you finish one night and you start the next day. Sort of messes with your mental timing of being a professional musician, and probably keeps you in check and makes sure that you don't drink too much the night when you have to play at noon.
Yeah, there's a TV show about Ozfest, like where bands would have to like battle to get a slot.
Yeah, that's where like Jada Pinkett's band won. Am I crazy?
I don't know.
I feel like we're going to have to do some research. I feel like I might be right. Yeah.
The only thing I for sure remember about that show is that Slipknot was on one of the challenges, and like they had to like wash Slipknot's jumpsuits or some shit.
And you're like, no, don't wash them. Don't do it. Keep it dirty.
What are you doing?
You're ruining it. I'll buy those.
Oh man.
Okay, so the mask. Let's dig into that. You're 6 years old. I read an interview where you said you were 6 years old. You discovered Slipknot the same day. You walk into this place and you buy like a gas mask. Is that true? Is that like, or is it just a lore thing?
Kinda. I was 6. My grandma owned a beauty salon, and she had like pop culture magazines delivered in there for clients to read. And Rolling Stone always came, and they were real big into Limp Bizkit. So I would flip through there and like look for West Borland stuff. One day I was like flipping through one, and it was a photo of Slipknot. It was a collage, but it was individual photos of each member, and they were like against wood panel walls, and it was the self-titled stuff, so it was all real like DIY.
Correct. The
coolest masks still to this day. And I was just like so captivated by the photo, because those looked like masks that you could buy in stores, but they weren't. I had never seen those at a Kmart or whatever it was. So I tried to like read the article, and I didn't understand anything that they were talking about, but I remember it was like the DJ's talking about lighting himself on fire and blah, blah, blah. So I like pestered my mom. We never had computers when I was a kid. But we had one at that time for whatever reason. I was like, please let me watch a music video. She's like, let me like check it out first. So she watched Wait and Bleed. She was like, yeah, you can watch this. And dude, holy shit, I can still remember the first time I saw that. Like
the 9 of them, the masks, the chaos, dude. The heaviness.
It had such everything about it. It had a weird filter over it, so you still couldn't quite tell what you were looking at. Like, what the fuck was Corey's face? And he's like, are you ready to tear this fucking place down? And just like the mannerisms of each dude, and then like the music itself. There still has not been another song like Wait and Bleed. I wonder what that was like to like hear that back for them for the first time, be like, holy shit, like we literally just changed music.
They probably didn't know, and they weren't confident. And I wonder within the band, because there's like 2 versions of that song, right? There's one where there's more clean vocals that went out.
I mean, there's the Terry Date mix and the whatever else. Like, yeah,
because one that like the big single, like the one that went out into like public had like the second verse had clean vocals instead of the harsh vocals, which is on the main record. So I wonder what the arguments and discussions were in the band for that. Did they know that they had this much of a hit? Hypothetically, they did, but maybe not. Yeah.
It's just wild to me. I still listen to it, and I'm like, you know, I've heard it thousands of times at this point in my life, and I still love Slipknot for the nostalgia. I still love modern Slipknot, and like, I'm friends with Sid. I literally texted him yesterday and was like, thank you for being a mentor. Like, 10 years ago, I was dressing up like you, and now we're like doing stuff together and, you know, whatever. But
it's an important thing for everyone to hear is that everyone that you admire are just normal people.
They are.
They wake up, they drink coffee, they take shits. We're all the same. Some people are just more successful. You know, some people are just more successful. It just happens. It doesn't mean that you can't be friends with them. But don't stalk them, because that's not cool.
Yeah, no. Don't be weird. That's what everybody comments on my shit when I have like a Slipknot member over, and they're like, I would have asked him to sign this, and this. I'm like, I've never asked them for an autograph, because
it's
why
weird.
the fuck would I?
Yeah, we're friends.
They're literally walking around my space like, well, I don't need, you know what I mean?
So you buy this gas mask, and then it translates into what lured you to the gas mask? I also read that Halloween was important for you for a slasher thing. How much aligned in the timeline am I from the beauty parlor, Rolling Stone magazine, watching Wait and Bleed to getting a gas mask?
So the night that I watched Wait and Bleed, I called my dad's best friend. His name's Matt Shipley. I don't know why I thought that he would have a mask, and I didn't care what kind of mask it was, but they let me call him. They're like, yeah, maybe Shipley has one. And I'm like, hey, dude, do you have a mask? And it's so bizarre to me that it's such a normal story, because like looking back on it, this fucking like early 20s dude had to be like, why the fuck is a 6-year-old like calling me asking for a mask?
Why does he want a mask? Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, I think my parents have a gas mask in the attic. And he's like, if I could find it, I'll bring it over. And sure as shit, he showed up with this gas mask, and he pulled it out of this like army bag that it was in. And I was like, holy fuck, like that's the one that's in the Wait and Bleed video. Like the DJ has that in the video. It's the same one. And it was like game over from there. I was like, oh, like these things are obtainable. So I was obsessed with like finding the closest thing that I could to stuff. And
the closest thing to Slipknot stuff. Or just masks in general, other masks that you would see in movies and stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely just the Slipknot thing at first. Even 15 years ago, it was hard to find like really nice Michael Myers masks and shit. So I just assumed that didn't exist. But the Slipknot stuff, I was figuring out between the gas mask thing, and then my dad actually had a Jester mask. It's this giant full head Jester mask. That I thought looked really similar to one of the dudes in the band. It was Jim's mask.
Yeah, exactly.
And he cut the face out and put a zipper in and whatever. So I was understanding, like even at a younger age, that these guys were just taking these masks and doing cool shit to them. So yeah, I was all about the hunt. I was like, you can find these white masks and paint on them with a Sharpie like Joey did or whatever it was. And all the shit back then was still horrible, because we didn't have good photos, and
nobody
you were like
knew.
cutting out every little thing.
You had no idea who they were. It wasn't like nowadays with social media where there's no... The illusion was still there heavily with Slipknot, and it was smart that they played with that.
Yeah, and it was the right time, too, because there's so much photo and video evidence of everything now. But back then, you were waiting on Circus Magazine to come out every month, and you would take the shitty little fucking 4x4 photo that they put at the beginning or whatever, and like that's what you had. That's all you had. You didn't have everybody that was filming side stage with a cell phone.
It's like as soon as that, you know, like we all knew it was Eloy, but as soon as he was playing and you saw the way he played, it was like, it's Eloy. You know, like we all knew it was him, but just the way he, and the tattoos, and it's everything is like that nowadays.
Yeah. Everything about that time period was way better for me, dude. Like 99 and 2000 are hands down my favorite years, and it's because of all of that. It was because of there's just so much irreplaceable stuff. It's not even just the Slipknot thing. Like Eminem, like think about the conundrum that was at the time. Like, what the fuck is the greatest craziest rapper in the world is this white dude, and he's like talking about like fucking raping his mom and shit. You're like,
It was out of control.
yeah, Jackass, South Park, fucking
true.
Attitude Era, wrestling. Like,
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
As I'm getting older,
like, I could just go on and on and on.
As I'm getting older, turned 40 last year, and I'm like getting into birding, and I'm getting back into wrestling. So I feel you. I'm watching all the old videos and Dark Side of the Ring. I got to get that director on the podcast. If anyone knows I want to talk to him, actually, I do know someone that know. I'm going to ask him next season.
Hell yeah.
So how does like hunting and creating Slipknot masks as you're growing develop into the House of Masks?
So I kind of always had masks around. I still have my first two that Shipley gave me. The one that my dad had that was a jester was like they literally sold those at like Kmart's, and they melt like crazy, so it doesn't exist anymore. But for the longest time, I just had what I had, and there was no getting lucky. I didn't have like the internet. I wasn't on eBay like finding stuff. But I remember we got another computer in like 2008 or 9, and I got on YouTube and I just searched Slipknot mask, and I found like 3 other guys that had uploaded videos of their collections, and I was like, oh shit, like I have the jester that this guy's talking about. Like I could upload a video showing that or whatever. So I had a Helio cell phone, and I was able to film on that, and I thought that was fucking sweet. So I would just upload like these 4-pixel videos quietly of 15 seconds of footage of my little collection or whatever. And those usernames kind of crossed with different forums that existed, like the MFKR1 message board or whatever. So that was that for a while. I was still too young to work and stuff. I didn't have a job. So I would, every once in a while, I would trade with these guys. But if I was getting something new, it was because I was getting rid of something else. And then eventually in 2013, I got a real job, and I was making enough to pay my bills and still have like $100 left over. So that $100 every 2 weeks or whatever would go towards another Slipknot mask. And just every time I would get one, I would unbox it to show my 30 mask collector friends on YouTube. But it wasn't, it was not like what it is now at all. It was legitimately like the mask was stuffed or on a head, and it was 30 seconds of silent footage just showing the mask. And I was like, oh, dude, like 32 people are subscribed to me. Like they think my collection is sick. And then eventually those turned into like 2-minute videos where I'm like, hey man, just got this box. And I'm like actually talking and opening a box. And then eventually, it just turned into something else completely. Like the you in YouTube is really important, because I think the more that you are a person and have a personality, the more whatever. So yeah, it was all super, super organic. And when I realized you could monetize stuff, I'd already had like thousands of subscribers. And my buddy Nico was like, I got $25 from YouTube this month. And I was like,
you can get money from YouTube? Yeah.
Exactly. He's like, you're not monetized yet? He's like, you get way more views than me. You'd probably get a couple $100 a month. And I was like, what the fuck?
I can stop working and just do YouTube?
Yeah. He walked me through it, and I was like, man, this is sick. Like if the House of Masks could be self-sustaining one day, that'd be cool, because I could still go work, but this thing could pay for itself. And eventually we obviously went past that, and yeah, now I'm just full-time on YouTube.
So cool. Just from a little 4 megapixel phone to 200,000 subscribers. I feel like I'm in the ballpark there.
Yeah, we're getting close.
Just incredible. Just to watch you, and it started in your house, and you moved into like a separate space, correct, with all the masks?
Yeah, this is like a downtown commercial space.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's sick. It's a full-on museum, and then obviously I have my little like studio filming setup and my editing bay in here. How
often do people pilgrim to come check out the House of Masks?
They would a lot more if I would allow it, but it's totally private. So
interesting. Okay.
that's kind of where the festival thing comes into play.
That's right. Palefest coming up on November 8th and 9th, 2024. My friend Josh, who I mentioned before, which is actually where I first heard about the festival, because he had Jay play drums for Bather, and they did a Misfits thing. Am I right there? And then like a week later, Jay wasn't in Slipknot anymore, and I literally wrote Josh, and I was like, what did you do?
Yeah, we all kind of had that initial reaction. We were like, fuck, did he get in trouble for the festival somehow?
No.
Thankfully, that wasn't the case. It was just
totally
weird timing,
no. But the festival grew into something so that people could.
Yeah. So I got this space in the middle of COVID. I initially, like when I started like kind of taking the YouTube thing serious, I was in an apartment, and the collection took over the entire living room, and then that was too much. So
because
I moved
people
into a
send
house.
you stuff, or people just want you to talk about stuff. People build stuff and they want you to talk about it on the channel. The way that I get a bunch of free beer, you get a bunch of masks to talk about.
Yeah. I don't ever charge for product reviews. The thing is, like, since I actually love the stuff, I just keep it, and it works for everybody because people are stoked that my shit is in, or their shit is in my collection, and they're
So
stoked
cool.
because they get to reach the biggest. It's the biggest mask channel, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, it's just a spectacle. So, outgrew the apartment. Went to a house. Outgrew the house, and then COVID happened, and I was tattooing full time at the time, and just doing YouTube as like a hobby, I guess. And in Ohio, when COVID got real bad, they shut down all the shops. They were like, no tattooing, and it was like months. So I was like, fuck, I guess I'm full time YouTuber now because I have no other option. And I went through a real bad breakup at the same time, and I had always had my eye on this place, like ever since I was a little kid. But oddly enough, Richter had a screen printing shop in here like a year prior to me getting the space. So the place was always in my life. Like, I'm real into BMX and skateboarding and stuff, and this was a bike shop when I was a kid. So I got my first bike here, and then eventually got my first skateboard. And then me and Richter's really good friend Matt Day had a photography studio here. So like I literally had my senior photos done in the building and shit. It was a real weird connection to the building. But in COVID, the business that was here went out of business, and I just fucking annoyed the shit out of the building manager. I was like, dude, I have to have it. I don't care what the deal is, like yada, yada, yada. And eventually he met up with me, and we hit it off real well. And yeah, got the building, kept it private for over a year, but COVID had kind of calmed down a little bit, and people everywhere wanted to come see it. Like even in town, it was like a myth almost. Like, oh,
I can only imagine.
You could hear people outside like, I wonder what's in there, and blah 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 blah.
Because when you look from the outside, you can't see the masks.
I have a window front that has like a bookshelf of crazy shit. So there's all kinds of masks on it, and there's like 2 life-size mannequins and Goosebumps books, like anything that you can think of that I would think is cool. So I was approaching 100,000 subscribers, or maybe I had already hit it. And I was like, dude, like this October, I should do an open house to show the thing off. And I'd never done a meet and greet either, which was like, that's like a popular thing amongst YouTubers. I was like, I wonder if that would work. So my buddy Bishop, who he co-runs Palefest with me. He has a company called Paleface & Co. And he makes masks, and we do all sorts of like symbiotic projects. I don't know how to work him into the story, but I wanted to do the open house. He was fully supportive, and I was like, dude, why don't you guys vend at it? That way people can fucking buy cool stuff. And we had like a mascot mask. It was like a House of Masks mascot mask, so we sold a bunch of copies of that at it. But we really didn't know what to expect, and the open house was fucking nuts. Like, I was in the back getting dressed, and some friends of mine came to the back, and they were like, there's a fucking line down the block. And I was like, you're lying. And they're like, no, dude. And they showed me a picture, and it really was like just hundreds of people. And it was like, what the fuck?
The goosebumps.
Like,
you're like, hell yes, it's working.
Dude, it was bizarre. We scheduled it from 6 to 10, and we didn't get the last person through the door until 2 a.m.
Holy shit, okay.
Yeah, it was wild. And immediately me and Bishop looked at each other and we were like, dude, like,
we're doing this again, but
that
bigger.
Was,
yeah.
Yeah, that was fucking sick. Like, that was just such a good feeling. It was so fun. And we met people, dude, fucking people drove from like 14 hours.
That's it. Yeah.
We were like, it was just mind blowing. So yeah, we immediately knew that we had to keep doing it. And it was a bizarre thing too, because I made more money at one time at that event than I'd ever made in my life. And like Bishop paid me out because he was like producing the masks and stuff. And I didn't even give a fuck. Like, he handed me this wad of cash and I was like, that, okay, like whatever. But like, that shit was fun, like connecting with these people and just being around people that have a true appreciation for the things that you're passionate about is like, it's so cool. So yeah, we immediately started kind of plotting. We were like, what are we going to do? Like, we could have our own convention. Like, we could put together the shit that we want to put together. So the next year we did Palefest 1. It was very DIY, very rinky dink. It was actually in a parking lot that's like right next door. And we opened the doors up again. And the turnout was awesome. But we kind of got our bearings with that. And last year's was just on a fucking completely different level. Like, everything that could have possibly worked in favor of that worked in favor. And we oversold the place, and now we're going to do it again, but bigger.
Hell yes. Very exciting. It's very cool to see this. You've hit like this, the people that like what you do, it's like this niche thing, but it's a die-hard niche. So they're going to drive 14 hours for it. They want to be there. There's this mythical lore around what you've curated, your collection, and then the people that you've invited to be a part of the event. Like having Bather with Jay playing drums is a weird thing, but it works, and they're playing Misfits. It's very cool.
And I was talking to Richter about it today. That was by accident. Like, that's how shit works out. We lost a band that was on the bill. And I called Jay and was like, hey, like, I got some bad news. This is the case. Like, we might have to shift some stuff around and try to fill that slot, because this band had already been promoted for months. And I don't know how many people were coming to see that band, but I just didn't want to disappoint anybody. And Jay was like, oh, man, like, that fucking sucks, but like, we'll figure it out. He's like, everything's fine. We'll figure it out.
The best
and
attitude.
Like, less than 24 hours later, he was like, I've always kind of wanted to do a Misfits like tribute set. And I was like, okay, I'm listening. And he's like, do you know a band that would want to learn the songs in like a week? And I was like, I think so. So I hit Richter up and he was like, fuck yeah. And it was all completely like, they practiced once the night before and it was fucking flawless. And then the next night it happened, and that kind of really speaks to Jay's character too, because like, that dude is really, really about the art. And he was kind of that way the whole time too. Like, I asked him to come be a guest at Palefest thinking like, it's Jay Weinberg. He has Grammys. Like, he doesn't give a fuck. And dude, he was so with it that he was like designing his own posters for it. He was like, do you think that we could make like an exclusive sticker? Do you think that we could do this? I'm like, how much do you want to like charge people to get their photo with you and sign stuff? And he's like, I'm not fucking charging any of those people. Like,
very good. Yeah.
Dude, so about it. He made this is the OG. He gave me this as a gift. It's like a fucking prized possession now. He made the flyer like old school
really?
DIY.
That's really nice
for the show.
That's good.
Yeah, and then, dude, yeah, just the fucking sickest thing. So, yeah, the people that support it, not only like the fans and stuff, but Sid and Jay are the two big ones that I can speak of for sure. They really, really believe in the movement. So, that's fucking weird to say, but yeah, 100%. The people that get it for sure.
6 years old, you discover a band, and now you're friends with them. It's a leap thing. You can go back and whisper in your ear at your grandmother's parlor that one day you're going to be friends with these guys. You wouldn't believe it. You know, it's an interesting thing.
It has really all. I can't imagine not like. There's been a lot of weird shit. There's a like a saying about full circle stuff on the channel, and Sid is the best example I can give of that because Matt Shipley gave me my first mask when I was a kid, and it was the same exact mask that Sid wore. Sid was the first House of Masks or like visit from a Slipknot member. He was the first member of Slipknot to give me a stage used mask. We just did work on the mask that he's wearing now, the solid gold one, which is a BCD. And I can't say too much about that yet, but I'm sure people have already figured it out. That won't be the last time you see that mask on my channel, I guess is what I can say about it. So like shit like that. And then stuff that makes no sense. Like through the channel, I discovered a band called Crypta, and I became really, really good friends with Luana, the drummer. And my entire life, my biggest fear was getting on an airplane. But Luana invited me to hang out in Seattle for a couple of days at the end of their tour. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to really regret that if I don't go. So I fucking went, and I got on a plane, and it totally changed my life. Like so many doors open because I got on a plane. And not even just the plane thing, but like Luana's one of my best friends, man. Like I just talked to her on the phone for like an hour this morning, just like drum nerd stuff, and everything is different because of everything else. I don't know how else to explain it, but I get really excited when I think about it.
It's very exciting. It's very positive, and just keep opening your horizons and broadening your horizons and welcoming in the whatever's coming in, the energies that are coming in, because it's cool. Then just keep having fun. I think that's the most important thing. Let's talk about masks, though. I'm sure someone's asked you this question. If you look at masks and like the lore of a mask, what draws you the most to a mask? Is masks in history have been used for protecting, as a disguise, for performance, or entertainment?
I mean, I think it's all. I think it's everything. I heard a really good quote the other day that I've never actually heard before, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And it was someone else being asked about their gimmick of a mask and why they wear one, and he was like, if you give a guy a mask, he'll tell you the truth. And I was like, man, that's kind of it. And if you think about it, some of the best everything is in masks. If it's in entertainment, the best whatever is in masks. We can, like, you say what you want about Slipknot, but there's no fucking denying that when that first record dropped, or Iowa, or whatever, that there had never ever been something like that before. Kane as a wrestler, like, what the fuck? That guy, like, that character is so captivating, and he was the most captivating when he didn't talk.
Even better. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
How's that work? Anything. There's a skateboarder right now called Ribsman, who's an anonymous skateboarder. He wears a fucking skeleton mask, and nobody knows who he is, and he shreds, and he's that much cooler because of the mask thing. So I know that I feel a lot better when I have my shit on. Oh yeah. Yeah, that whole thing started because I started like getting like recognized at shows and conventions and stuff, and people would want pictures, which is totally cool. Like, that's super rad, but I felt like a dork. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's why
I guess I do have a mask, because I have a stupid picture face.
Yeah, I don't like myself that much. I guess maybe that's why I'm fucking like slowly turning into a mask, but I was like, why don't I just do what everything that I'm about is, and fucking almost like pay homage to the people that gave me the life that I had. Like, the reason that I'm recognized by these people is because I'm sharing my passions on other people. So I was like, I'll just fucking put something together that I can wear to this stuff. And that's where the look came from. And I feel 1 million times more myself when I'm in that shit. So
very interesting.
It doesn't change me or like make me evil or crazy or wild or anything. No. It just feels better. Yeah, that's it.
I have a stupid face when I take pictures with people, and people that have taken pictures with me know this. And it's a stupid face.
That's the metal face, man.
And I guess it's my mask. But
yeah,
because I feel better when I do it. I have one last question. It's the classic Vox and Hops. It's not a classic Vox and Hops. I got one last question for you. Typically, I ask, the classic one is a hangover cure, but that does not apply here for AJ. I will ask you the Fight the Hops question, which is a short-term goal, something that you hope to accomplish within the next month, the next 2 months. What are you doing right now to fight the hops?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know. I used to set small goals and knock them out through the year. But all my attention's on Palefest now. So I guess I told you before we started, like I'm on like the Namaste thing, and I really, really want to honor that. And I've also been trying to have like a little more self-discipline with stuff. I'm like taking Duolingo, and I'm on a 42-day streak, like trying to learn Portuguese.
I was going to say Portuguese because of the crypto connection, but
yeah, and hey, just shout out to Crypto, by the way, sweetest people on planet Earth. Yeah, so stuff like that. I don't know. I would love to make more money. That's for fucking sure.
Well, people, you gotta go to Palefest and buy lots of the vendors' merchandise, and keep watching videos, and don't skip the ads because AJ needs it. AJ, thank you so much for hanging out with me, talking about your life, talking a lot about masks. I really enjoyed it. This is great. I would love to one day come hang out and check out everything. But until then, massive cheers. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Hey, thank you all so much for listening right to the end. You know that I love and appreciate that. Man, this was another amazing conversation. I am in awe with everything that AJ has built from a childhood passion project that has turned into a whole career. I think that is just simply incredible. AJ came out to the first date of the recent Cryptopsy tour in Columbus. We hung out. It was great to meet him face to face so shortly after having this conversation. I love what he's doing. I love the festival that he's planning. I'm excited to see the future of that. He's doing amazing things, and I just can't wait to keep following everything that you're doing, AJ. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me. The Vox&Hops podcast is brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts. I hope you have a killer rest of the week. I will be back next week with another episode on Tuesday, but until then, remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. Cheers, Vox and Hops heads.